Now we're going to dig into the money side of digital audiences. Digital agency Frankly Green and Webb recently wrote an article about how our beliefs about charging for digital content might actually be holding us back in the heritage sector. And we wanted to explore this with a few guests. So it is my absolute pleasure to introduce the host for today's panel, the amazing Delphine Jasmine Belisle, who I work with regularly on the Heritage Digital Project, but some of you may know better as the Development and Membership Manager at the Heritage Alliance. Hello, Delphine, how are you doing this morning? It is still this morning.
It is, yes. I'm just really chuffed to be on this side of the camera. Usually I'm the one running, sharing the slides and making sure that this chat doesn't explode. So it's nice to be doing something a bit different. And it's such an exciting topic. I think we've all rattled our brain this year in how can we still keep making money when we have to think digitally. So really chuffed to be here with some really cool panelists, actually.
Absolutely great. Well, it's a pleasure to have you as always. Well, I'll leave you to it to introduce the rest of the guests and crack on.
Thank you. Well, I'll catch up with you later.
Yeah, cheers.
So, hi everybody. So Chris had already introduced me. So I'm the Development and Membership Manager for the Heritage Alliance. So we're one of the 4 partners that deliver Heritage Digital. I'm really chuffed because our project manager, Carmen, is the mastermind behind the event, and you'll probably get to see her peeking in the extended Q&A. So do go and say hello to her as well. And what is the Heritage Alliance? Well, we are the independent, we're an independent charity, and we are a member body that represent the independent heritage check movement in England. So we're really happy to be championing the whole of the sector in all of its diversity. And that's something that we take a lot of pride in, is that idea that it's the breadth of the sector we represent. And I'm so chuffed to see so many of you with us today, and also from every direction in the UK and every part of the sector. And how do we champion the sector? Well, we do it by influencing legislation, policy. So advocacy is at the heart of what we do, but we're also really passionate about making connection. So we really bring that sector together. If you haven't registered already, join Heritage Update. It's our fortnightly newsletter. It's free. Obviously, no surprise there. I'll say join the Heritage Alliance as a member. You can find out more. I'll put something in the chat so you can find out more. Come and have a chat with me afterwards in the extended Q&A. And then we also focus on that growth element, we really want to help our members, but a whole sector grow. And we do it through programs like Heritage Digital, and just want to give a nod to another brilliant program we're running. And I'm talking probably too fast because that's what us French Canadians do, but it's Rebuilding Heritage. So again, I will post about it in the chat. And that is a program that is bespoke to the sector. We've consulted extensively with you all to equip you with the skill and the support. That includes free consultancy, which, as you all know, is very pricey to respond to the challenge of COVID. So look that up, come and join us, and then come and have a chat with me later as well. Now, enough about me. Let's talk about our panelists. So I'll ask both Victoria and Barbara to unmute themselves, switch their camera on. And Victoria and Barbara, I'll ask you to introduce yourself briefly. I'll give you about a minute each to tell me who you are, which organization you work for, and the meaty bit, which is how you've built digital activity in your income generation strategy this year. So if I start with you, Victoria.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Nice to be here. So I'm Victoria Walworth. I'm the Policy, Projects and Course Manager at National Historic Ships UK. And the course side of my title is what I'm here to talk about today, which is our online distance learning course in historic vessel conservation, which we set up 3 years ago. And fortunately, it's been growing ever since. It's a unique course that we don't really think there's something like that out there. So it's been very exciting, very new for us since then. So it's great to be able to have a chance to talk about it a bit today.
Thank you so much. And Barbara, coming from lovely Edinburgh today, which I used to live there, what feels like a few lifetimes away. So I'm very jealous. And tell us more about you.
Yeah, the weather's not too bad today, actually, which makes a change. So I'm Barbara Alexander. I am the Membership and Fundraising Officer for Edinburgh World Heritage. Edinburgh World Heritage is responsible for looking after the UNESCO World Heritage Site, which is in Edinburgh, is the Old Town and the New Town. So it's a very compact area. It's a very unique area because most UNESCO sites are built on top of each other. So you have to do a lot of archaeology. Edinburgh, it's built side by side. So actually you can see both of it at the same time. And it's a really fascinating place. I joined 3 weeks before lockdown last year. So all of my experience has been online, basically. So all of our events have had to go online. Prior to that, I've done 30 odd years in fundraising, mostly in London. I was 11 years at Variety, 10 years at Cancer Research UK, 8 years at the Red Cross. So I've got a lot of experience of physical events, not so much the digital side.
It's certainly been a massive learning curve in the last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think I love the fact that, somebody that I associate with digital event, Mimi, said that until last year she didn't really know what Zoom was. It just showcased the changing time. Just want to introduce as well the third main panelist. Don't worry, ladies, there isn't actually a physical third panelist, but actually that's you, the audience. So James earlier talked about being part of that conversation, that call to action. Well, that's what I'm giving you now. I really want to see that chat booming with your ideas, what you've experienced, what you've been challenged with, and what you've tried and tested in the last year across the sector. Have you started a Patreon channel? Have you done digital paid for events? Do share it in the chat. I won't look at it just now, but I can promise you I will be recording it. I will look at it later, and also come and join us afterwards in the chat again in the extended Q&A so we can chat about it together. So bit of housekeeping. We'll have around 20 minutes-ish of panel discussion. We've got some cool questions prepared. And then we do have space for live Q&As from you. Do use the Q&A box. You all seem expert at it now. I've noticed them popping out really nice and easy. So again, at bottom left, do throw them in. Again, I will not be looking at the chat during the conversation. So make sure they go in the Q&A function. And then if there are any questions that we don't have a chance to cover or that we don't cover in the extended Q&A, we're actually going to put them to the whole community by tweeting about them later on with the hashtag #HeritageDigitalNow. So I'll again remind you of that at the end. So don't worry if not everything gets answered. Now, last thing, it's a live discussion, this. It's not a face-to-face event. So the likelihood of my greyhounds coming in and gate crashing the event is extremely high. What I'm going to say is we're going to look in slightly different direction, probably. I've got 3 screens and sheets of paper all around me. And just don't worry, we're a live event. Your Wi-Fi might decide to break. But the main thing is if for any reason you have to leave and you want to come back and listen to that panel, it will be recorded and shared on the Heritage Digital portal. So do not worry, we are going to be available after the fact as well. Now, ladies, ready for the meaty bit? First question is I think the one that we've all asked ourselves when we're doing our planning, and I certainly had to think about it being a membership organization that relied on face-to-face event, about that accessibility versus income generation. And so that's a massive challenge. There's so many free things out there in the digital world. So how can you make sure that you're going to make income, that you're going to make ends meet if you try to deliver something online? Barbara, I'm going to start with you because obviously you're representing an area, and frankly, even Google Street Map become a competition when it comes to experiencing digitally Edinburgh. So how did you find the challenge? How did you find a solution?
I think first off, we when we went immediately into lockdown, instantly we panicked because we thought we had a whole schedule of events. Our year follows the financial year. So, April would have been the beginning of a whole new raft of physical events that we knew we weren't going to have. So we instantly thought, what are we going to do? And because everybody seemed to be jumping on the bandwagon with doing quizzes, we thought, okay, we'll do a quiz. That's interactive. That's brilliant. And that was our first event. And we didn't charge because nobody was charging for quizzes at the time, but we asked for donations. And we used at that time, I think we used Zoom, not a webinar, but we used open Zoom. So we had a maximum of 500 people, I think that's what we were willing to pay for. And it wasn't exactly chaos, but it was really tricky. And I've used Zoom a lot because previous to this role, I was in a national role where all of my other colleagues were in different parts of the country. So we used to use Zoom on a regular basis. So I was okay with it. I, do breakout rooms and things like that, but it was actually quite a challenge. So we sort of sat back after that and reviewed it, and that was a lot of work. To put the quiz together, it was a lot of work. And, the members were very supportive, but I think effectively it brought in enough, but it didn't, it just about covered the costs really. So we weren't, this isn't brilliant. And then we actually just went back and thought about what our strengths were. And the strengths in the program of events that we've done previously was the detail of Edinburgh. So the detail of the history, the detail of the architecture, the people who lived here. And that's one of the things that we decided to sort of focus on then, was what did people actually enjoy about Edinburgh? And we thought, well, the easiest way to do it is to actually have, kind of like now, is to have a conversation, a digital conversation between knowledgeable people that then the audience interacted through the chat room and the Q&A rather than actually being in the Zoom call as well. So we actually started with that. And again, we didn't charge for them because nobody was charging at that time, but we did get donations. And as things went on, actually, it was quite a good thing. So the first 6 of our events last year were all free and just asked for donations. And they covered our costs. It didn't make a huge amount of money, but it did cover the costs. So then we got to sort of summer, and we thought, we've still got a budget we've got to meet. And we went back to knowing what raised money in our physical events, which was actually talks from experts. And the sort of experts that, you see on BBC Two in conversation with Mary Beard or people like that, So we put together a package for the autumn series, and we got sponsorship for it. And we encouraged people to pay approximately half of, 2/3 of what our normal physical events cost. So we have members and non-members costs. And they went down really well, really, really well. So we were very lucky with that. And that's how we've continued. We've charged for every event that we've done.
I love that. I think that I'm already making notes. I'm taking post notes away, but look at what you're good at. It's not doing digital for digital's sake, but actually just, going to that nugget. And as you said, for you, it was that exchange of knowledge. And I think that's such an interesting point. And also that element of, thinking donation, thinking sponsorship. I know I've started to throw, when we do free events, we throw in the donation button. And we give with Eventbrite. I know there's always the option of you can put it, and actually a little bit of cash comes in, and it's not going to hurt, and actually help build and that relationship with sponsorship as well. No, that's all good. And can I just ask as well, and Victoria, I'm coming to you in a second, I promise. See, Edinburgh international appeal, absolutely. Did you find yourself having a lot more international audiences because you were digital?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we've always had some expats, sort of, North America, London, and whatever. But actually, yes, and part of the package that we're offering is our membership is not very expensive. It's £30 a year for a single person, so it's not a massive amount. So what we've come up with in the autumn series was a membership bundle package, so that you get a free event when you join as a member, and that has been tremendous. That people have been signing up because they see it's a conversation they want to be part of, and they think, oh, actually £30 isn't a lot for an annual subscription. So we've got a lot of members from that, and they are coming from international.
Cool.
a
No,
lot
I
of the time.
love that. Bundle package. I'm going to think about that. I need to have a chat with my CEO now. Victoria, you actually, you went for courses. Now, not only is it courses that you used to deliver face to face, it's courses about historical ship and maintenance. My goodness, is there something more practical than that? So how did you make it happen? And you know, how did it turn it into a success?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been lovely hearing about Barbara's project, by the way, because like you, I used to live in Edinburgh, and so it'd be wonderful to even digitally get to visit again. Yeah, only it really was something quite new for us, and what we wanted to be able to do with the course is to set a national standard for conservation approaches to historic vessels, and that's a lot about what we do as National Historic Ships. We have, you can see it on my shelf behind me, our Conserving Historic Vessels manual, but there really isn't any sort of formal course around that. You've got boat building courses, you might have engineering courses that someone might want to take, but when it comes to conservation principles, there is a difference in approaches across the sector, and so it's about trying to create a standard with it. But coming back to that income and sort of the financial questions, we're really conscious of the financial pressures felt across the heritage sector. And so for us, I think a big thing about it was about trying to be realistic with where you're putting your pricing, so that you're reflecting that. So for us, what we wanted to be able to do was to look at sort of comparable courses that might have been out there and do a bit of sort of on the ground research, but really sort of build into it that I consider what the students and what organisations would be willing to pay for, and that helped to set our costs with that. We also looked at what our overheads would be for actually running the course to a standard that would be worth taking, and so going back to the original aims, it's not about making huge sums of money out of this. It's about just delivering a course that is at a high standard, and so that also is built into our framework for setting the pricing as well. And then the other thing is just making sure that what you're offering is actually something people would want to pay for. And so when it comes to the content of the course, making sure that really for us, it was about opening the doors to the sector for the students. So yes, it's distance learning, which means that all of your learning is happening digitally. But we were creating, a series of learning films. We have like an extended mentor list. We're always sort of traveling about, not this year, obviously, but filming new case studies and just making sure that the content is actually worth the price and will actually really help the students reach their goals. And building flexibility as well into that costs as well is something that we did. So we offer, the option to perhaps pay in installments, so that if someone can't pay all up front, then they can actually, again, just break it down into something that's a bit more realistic, or potentially just take individual units rather than the whole course.
So the module approach, and that's something you found was really effective. That is really helpful. And you did mention, you mentioned a keyword, and I'm going to look at Barbara as well, and I'm sure we're all going to pull a face there. It's the overhead factor. And let's just reflect on how time consuming preparing for a digital event is. We've experienced that massively at the Alliance. It's just a difference in the requirement for time, and you always assume that, oh well, it should be easier. It isn't. It does take an amount of time. Did you have realistic expectation around the time and the overhead cost when you first started, and how did you adjust those? So Barbara, if I can briefly have you on that.
Yeah, we are very lucky. We're a very small organization. There's 10 of us, I think, at the most. And so we work quite closely as a team. So I have my boss, who's external engagement manager, and Becky, who is the communications officer. And we work together as a team. So because I've only, literally been in a job a year, my knowledge of the absolute, detail of conservation and historic buildings is very limited. So when it came to doing the events, the script and stuff like that, Nick does all of that. My boss does all of that. Becky organizes the comm side, sets up the videos, and we have a tech run. All I do is market it out to the members, and to be honest, that's through MailChimp. So that's not really. We are very lucky. We know that actually putting our events on is actually not as onerous as it would be for some other, or certainly for something like Victoria's talking about. There's much more in-depth and you know, detail that has to adhere to than ours does, because ours is usually a conversation with experts, and we leave them to sort themselves out when it comes to what they're talking about.
So what about you, Victoria? Was that a bit of a shell shock? It certainly was for me. When I started even just taking my own time, I ended up spending on digital events.
Oh, absolutely. I think that there was a learning curve, and there's a couple of elements. I think just starting to, once you start to, you know, initiate those students onto the course, building into your time of day the support that those students will actually need. So that was something that I think was the first learning curve for us, was what level of support do we want to offer? Because again, we really wanted, we embraced digital and all of the good things that come with it, but we really wanted to try and also bridge the gap, so that, you know, it's very difficult for students who are looking at potentially completing 7 units. They have up to 3 years to do the course. It's a long time to commit to something. And we really wanted to make sure that they felt that they were supported through it. If they had any questions, any complaints, potentially, you know, things that they weren't too happy about, they knew who they could go to. And so as well as myself, we've got our projects officer, Emerald Lang, who's been fantastic in helping with that support. And we've really reached out as well to the sector. So, and that's happened and grown over the years. So in terms of, you know, having expertise to hand, we're really aware, as National Historic Ships, we don't have vessels, you know, to our name. We advise the sector and offer guidance. And so reaching into other organisations who have those expertise has been really vital. Not just to offer support to the students, as I say, through something like the mentor programme, but also we've partnered with organisations who are very happy to just throw open their doors, welcome the students in physically, again, taking it away potentially from everything just happening online, and actually come and look at the collection, come and see what they're doing on board the vessel. And that's been very useful. And where we can, we'll actually go along with that, film the sort of tour, and then that becomes another online case study. So anyone who wasn't able to make it there physically, it's again just captured on that digital platform. And then, you know, we've really benefited from, again, partnering with experts to actually act as our course markers as well, because that's a huge element of the course. Obviously, it's very time consuming, and it's about coming back to, I suppose, what does the learner want to get out of this? And obviously they want to do the best they can, but they want, you know, feedback. And so having experts in the fields that can really advise on, you know, potentially other case studies that they could look at and include within their reports that they're sending to us, and you know, something else perhaps that they haven't thought about, also offering positive feedback. That's something that, yeah, has all taken time, but reaching out to others outside of our own team has been hugely beneficial.
No, that is really helpful. Now I can see we've got a couple of questions, but I do want to ask you one last thing before we move to the Q&A, is that team element. I think, you know, an event is only as good as the team delivering it, and fostering that innovation, fostering, you know, the right skill sets, and getting people to adapt their skill sets in those crazy time. Any maybe couple of top tips from both of you as to how did you make that happen? How are you still making that happen? In really getting the team engaged. And I think, Barbara, a great example that the whole team is engaged in your digital event, so they all have that. But how did you foster that? And I said, very briefly, a couple of points from each of you, maybe just telling me in 30 seconds, top tips.
Always have a tech. Always have a tech run. I think the second event that we did a tech run, and that was fine. But it was, I think it was May or June. And when we went live to the event, one of the participants was sat outside in his garden with his computer. So all we could hear was the birds. And we're like, it's really loud. So when we do a tech, which is, you know, everybody is used to Zoom these days. So tech takes 10 minutes. Literally, Becky will go through a checklist and go, is this the room you're going to be in on the night? Is this the lighting you're going to have on the night? You know, is the sound good enough? You know, it's brilliant, but always have a tech, because we know that the one time we don't do it, something will go really wrong.
Love it. Always have a tech. That's a big take from today's panel. Victoria, what about you? What's your strapline you're going to tell me?
Oh gosh, that was such good advice, because Zoom's been new to us this year and we've been doing things with our students like live chats and stuff, and yeah, the tech runs have been really helpful. I mean, I would definitely say just have a go. That it's really simple advice, but actually that's the thing that's probably kept us going, because when we started this, you know, online learning platforms, there was something completely new to me. I had something at university, but you know, I didn't really like it then, so why would I like it now? But just having a play and sort of treating it as just a sort of learning exercise. You may not feel really confident, but just have a play with it, and helping you alongside that, just go you know, a Google search can really throw a lot at you. So there are plenty, fortunately, of you know, good YouTube how-to guides for doing these type of things, events like this. I think just trying to tap into the fact that you're not alone doing this. There are plenty of other organisations trying to do exactly the same thing as you. Unfortunately, they've been very kind to share their experience online or through, you know, exactly this type of chat. So I think, yeah, have a play and
then you're not alone. Look out for help across, and that's the whole point of a digital community, isn't it? Fantastic. Now, looking at the Q&A, the big word that keeps coming up is suggested donation. That's a big question on everybody's lip. Any tip? Richard, Christine, Ione are all asking any tip in particular regarding how you can maximize voluntary donation in regard, especially if you're doing a free event. And so that's one that is particularly tricky, I think. And then at what point do you request it? Should an amount be suggested? So have you suggested donation, either of you? Is that have you kind of, we recommend a £5 donation or something?
Yeah, we do. We have a sort of, now we've got the hang of it, we sort of have this set introduction, if you like. So, you know, introduce who we are and whatever. And there's a slide which is always on at that point, which is we use donor for donations. And because of that, we use the same code the whole time. And it's a very straightforward one, because, you know, nobody's going to get it wrong. So it's EWH. And we do £10 suggested donation, because why not? So it's just, you know, text EWH 10 to the 5-digit code, and we do that again at the end. And because it's on donor, it comes directly through to my email when people make a donation. So actually, even during the evening, I can say we have a WhatsApp group. That's the other thing. The tech group have a WhatsApp group, so we can actually go behind the scenes, go, I can't hear Nick. So I text them during the evening and just say, we've had X number of donations. It's brilliant. And then they can sort of make comment to that during the evening.
Oh, I love that. So, I mean, I think that's a good point. There are plenty of programming. I think there's a Karen asking us as well about the crowdfunding campaigns. There are, I think, quite a lot of platform, whether it's donor, PayPal, donate. We've tried with our event. I know what I found that were best for us was to offer, even at the start when people were booking, the option to buy, especially people that are known engaged people with the Heritage Alliance. They know the effort we've put in. They know the word I've gone to the event, so they'll do it at the start. But I love that idea of doing it live, saying like, you know what, we've already received this, because that certainly would motivate me, saying, you know what, you've done great, let me give you a £5. And donating by text, that is nice and easy. I don't like anything complicated. So that is good. What about you, Victoria? Because basically you're running also massive amount of free events. I know you've obviously your award ceremony is a big highlight for the maritime heritage people every year. So
that's right. I mean, as an organisation, you're right, we've got a really busy event programme, and we actually don't charge for any of our events, and you know, that's so it's interesting hearing about the donations, because that's not something that we've used before. So actually it's interesting for me as well to pick up some tips perhaps, but I think, you know, just in our experience, it's you know, I think just offering flexibility into everything, offering that choice seems to be you know, something that that people really respond to. And, you know, like you say, I think when it comes to online events, the expectations are high now from your audience, because everyone really has got to grips with it and are trying it out for themselves. So yeah, you know, with that, I think, you know, if you can offer your events in different formats, then that's quite helpful. It'll be interesting to see when, you know, lockdown does lift. You know, things like being able to do a half digital, half face-to-face event, and if that would impact on any donations that way. So yeah, sorry, I'm picking up tips as we go along myself, for potentially what we might look at in the future.
And I'll say again, if you have any tips, anything that you've experienced, and something we've not covered today, which, you know, we went, and I'm glad we didn't try to sneak it in because we would have struggled with time, is the whole Patreon channel as well. It's obviously that new platform where you can share content, and it's kind of a membership subscription base. You know, do put it in the chat, do tweet about it, Heritage Digital Now. Just let us know, because the more we share, the more we can exchange, the more we can learn together, definitely. I think the last thing, I suppose, it's a question I saw in the, actually Nicola here is telling us that, you know, our venue are free. They usually use sales of goods and tea rooms. How do you suggest that Grassroot venue monetize their free digital events? Because they might not have a website, or it might be volunteer-led with a small team, little tech support. Any thoughts on that question? I think that's one that, you know, really resonate with us, because it's that you definitely have the creativity and the will with those Grassroot venues, but it's not always easy to turn this into hard cash.
I think we are very lucky in that we have quite a good digital presence. So we use social media a lot. We have a Facebook page and Twitter and Instagram. And that's one way that we also advertise our events. So, I mean, I don't know if that would help.
Maximizing social media.
Yeah,
fantastic.
very much
No,
so.
I think that is good. And that, can I just say that I think it was you, Barbara, that mentioned at the start that word sponsorship. Is it you? Yes, it is you, Barbara.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking. I think that if you can find maybe a local partner that will support the ethic of what you're doing, that will support the cause, that certainly for us with the Heritage Alliance, our sponsors are something that, you know, really make a difference, and they get involved in the event. They help shape it, so they are part of the fun as well. So yeah. I can see,
and from that they also have their own social media, hopefully, so
absolutely.
That they can.
So going back into reach. Actually, nice turnaround. James' point at the start, saying actually, you know, that 1990. Well, actually, that relationship with your sponsors, with your existing supporters, will make that difference. And fortunately, that's it. That went really fast. Here it is. That's the end of our panel for today. I really excited. Everybody, do keep that discussion going. You know, we do need to be able to be more sustainable as a sector, and income generating is absolutely critical. So do share your thoughts on the hashtag Heritage Digital Now. We do have the Heritage Digital Facebook group as well. I love the fact that it's getting more and more active. You get people sharing questions and thoughts more and more. So do join that.